Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching, and whatever time it is where you are. So, yes, so today back to the IELTS test. All right. If you're new to this IELTS test, I know you may be confused or wondering whether you should prepare and take the IELTS academic or IELTS general training. So, what is the difference between the two? IELTS academic and the IELTS general training. What is the difference? And how do I decide which test to take? All right. So, just first for to mention, all test takers do the same IELTS speaking and listening tests. Just like I mentioned in one of my of my lives, the IELTS test tests you on four skills. All right, four skills. There is the listening skill, the reading skill, the writing skill, and your speaking skill. So these four skills, this is all that is tested in IELTS tests. It makes the complete test. All right. So when you're doing the test, you'll be sitting for these four sections. All right. So just like I was saying, whether you are doing IELTS academic or IELTS general training, you will do the same listening test. You will also do the same speaking test. So these two tests, all the test takers will do the same. The only difference is in the other remaining skills, the reading skill and the writing skills. So these are the two skills that are different, that differ when it comes to IELTS academic and IELTS general training. So in IELTS academic, the difference is the context is actually based on study, like a school environment. Just think of things like, you might get articles gotten from books, okay, from journals, from newsletters, from basically it's a study environment context. Even talk about essays, in the writing test, essays, you'll be, expecting to read essays gotten from, those kind, examples of articles that I just mentioned. On the other hand, when it comes to IELTS general training, the context is basically social environment, because this is something to test your ability to communicate, just in case you've moved to this end of the English speaking countries. So the context is it's based on a social environment or work related environment, or possibly either maybe you're moving abroad to go and work. So for general training, it's social and work environment context, while academic IELTS academic is based on study environment. All right. So how do I, who does or who is supposed to do the IELTS academic test, and who does the IELTS general training tests. Okay, so just to begin with, I will talk about academics. Sorry, the IELTS academic. All right. If you are moving or planning to migrate to any of the English speaking countries, I'll be repeating this, countries like the US, countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK. Okay, if you're moving there to study, okay, at an undergraduate or postgraduate level, you will be required to do the IELTS academic test. If you're moving, if you're migrating or you're moving to these countries to go and study at an undergraduate or postgraduate level, you will be required to do the IELTS academic test. All right. Number two, if you're moving, you're not moving to go and study, but you're moving to go and work. If you're moving as a professional, maybe you've applied for a job, you've gotten a job offer, and you are required to go to the embassy. Of course, remember, you'll be required to produce evidence of your English proficiency test. Okay, so if you are moving as a professional, okay, you've gotten this job offer, or you wish to be registered with a professional body, professions like nursing, medicine, pharmacy, name them. Okay, like in the videos, the video that I did about the nursing opportunities in the UK. All the nurses who are migrating to the UK for those opportunities, they have to do IELTS academic. So if you are moving as a professional, either you've gotten work or you wish to be registered by a professional body abroad, you must do IELTS academic test. Okay, so these are the two groups. Okay, if you're going to study or you're going to work as a professional, you will be required to do the IELTS academic test. So secondly, now the IELTS general training. Okay, general training. If you are moving as a student, okay, but you're going to study at a lower, a level that is lower than undergraduate, all right, then you will be required to do the IELTS general training test. General training test. If you are moving to go and study, but any level below graduate, undergraduate, you will be required to do the IELTS general training test. Okay, so the second group of people who can do the IELTS general training test also, if you're moving abroad, you're going to either work or train in any other vocational related fields, like for example, construction, you are an electrician. What else is that? Fields like hospitality industry, tourism industry, all those that you can think of, then you will be required, either you are going to work or to train, you will be required to do the IELTS general training test. Okay, the third category, the people who also will need to do the general training test, IELTS, if you're applying for what is that, to move as an immigrant. I know I've talked about immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas. You're applying to become or to be granted permanent residence in these English-speaking countries. You will also be required to do the IELTS general training test. So this, this is how the two tests differ: general training and IELTS academics, and who is required to do general training, who is required to do the IELTS test. So I want to mention that depending on which country you are going, each country has their own requirements. They have their own minimum band score requirements, or organizations. Possibly, maybe it's you are migrating to go and work. You need to check with the organization that is offering you an opportunity to check their requirements, which band scores they require. And countries, just like I mentioned, they also differ. So you need to check. You see, like countries, which one is that I can mention, I think, for now? Is it I really wanted to mention about the requirements, but again, I'm tempted not to, you know. So it is very important. This is what I can say. It is very important for you to check, one, the requirements of either the country where you are moving to. I know there are countries that require a band score of 6.5. I know, like countries like Canada, if you wish to move there, they require a minimum of 6.5 band score. If you are doing a general training, if you're, also countries like I think Australia. Yes, Australia. I think they are by now, but this is something you need to go and double check. Their minimum requirement band score is 6.0. So it is very important for you to check either the country where you're moving to or the organization that is giving you this maybe an opportunity. Check their band score requirements before you start practicing and eventually sitting for the IELTS test. Because when you are preparing for the IELTS test, you are preparing with a target. You know what you need, even when you are, engaging a tutor or maybe to walk you through. You have a target. I'm registering and I'm preparing to get, for example, a 7.0 score. I'm preparing to get a 6.0 score. So it is very important for you to check and know the requirements, what you are looking for before you start, before you even enroll or before you start preparing for the IELTS test. All right. So that is all I really wanted to share today about the difference between the IELTS academic and the IELTS general training, and who is required to do either of the two, depending on where you're moving to, or why, not where actually, depending on why you're moving. Either you're moving as a student, are you moving as an undergraduate student, a postgraduate student, or are you moving as, a worker, you've gotten a job offer, or you're going for training that is below undergraduate? Are you moving as an immigrant, so all these are the things that you need to look at for you to understand which test you are required to do. Okay. Yes. So in my next series of videos or lives, I'll be sharing tips and on how to prepare and get higher scores, band scores in these IELTS tests. Remember, like I said, IELTS, this is one of the areas that I've specialized on. So I'll be giving you tips on each section of the IELTS test: speaking section, listening section, reading and writing, and how to prepare, how to revise, how to do to practice for or before you do this, you register for your IELTS test exam. So stay tuned. Keep on, watching my videos. For especially if you are planning to register for the IELTS test, I'll be giving you a lot of tips on what you need to do. And trust me, at the end of it all, you'll be good to sit for that test and be guaranteed to get very high scores. Just like I mentioned, the IELTS test, it's all about strategy. It's all about strategy. If you have the strategy on how to, answer reading test questions, writing test questions, speaking and listening test questions, strategy, you'll be good to go. All right. See you again in my next live.